economy will shrink in the course of 2023. And then weren't that different compared to many others when it comes to the inflation, because inflation is just...
But restoring price stability when inflation is high can require measures that are not popular in the short
welcome to
term.
Financial Stockholm. I'm Christopher Crystal. Today is Friday, January 13th, 2023. And these are our views on what we're seeing here in Sweden, the Swedish Press, some of Europe. And these are our views only, not recommendations. You should, of course, speak to your advisor for that. But really, the biggest news in Sweden today came out yesterday from Ebba Busch, our energy and business industry minister, and from LKAB, which is our big mining union up north. They made the announcement about finding rare earth metals and or rare earth metal oxides. So this is important because there's right now a debate about using cobalt and whether you should be using other materials, and then where do you get those if you can't get them from China? And the majority of what Europe is using is currently from China. So this is a very, very significant announcement that we actually have the access here in Sweden. And the area that we have the access in is in our Laplands, which is up north, and where you can see the aurora borealis, like what's going on behind me, and it's even more interesting because then you have exposure to this in Norway, in all likelihood, and in Finland, in all likelihood. What's also very prevalent and has been found in the past is uranium. So you could effectively handle the issues of uranium for nuclear. If you want to use uranium, you could actually use the natrium solution within, say, something like what Terra X or Terra Power is using with Bill Gates' solution. But you would have access to finding lithium and other rare earth metals that are needed for your mobile phone and your electricity and your battery networks. And what's also very interesting about this is that the current government is taking on this announcement and making this announcement. And why that's significant is because they're moving away from the ESG steps that had been put in place before by the Sverigedemokraterna, because the previous government, or excuse me, the Social Democrats, the previous government of Social Democrats was moving away from this. But this is where existing mining operations already occur. So we already have the mining going on. We don't have the issue of the artisanal miners like you do with the cobalt down in Africa. You don't have some of the same issues. You have it already being done in an environmentally safe way, at least is what we'd call it. So Europe could actually start to get its rare earth metals from Scandinavia. So that makes it very interesting and very strange that you don't have more coming out about this from the Swedish press. And also, you don't find this information on our Swedish Geological Survey site. You do find it in the press, but you don't find it within the government agencies. And I find that to be a little strange. So that means there's more to come. And you do have Ebba Busch pushing it forward. So, and she's been getting a lot of positive press lately. And she's been in the lead in the forefront on our nuclear power. So we'll see what happens there. Because this is a strong move from the politicians. And they need this because they're getting a little shade as they've been pushing through their salary increases while people are struggling and avoiding getting into heavy debt, which is increasing here in Sweden. We saw our CPI figures jump to a very, very high price of 12.3. So people are finding it difficult to shop and buy food. That was our CPI at 12.3. Our inflation is at 10.2. That's tied a lot to our electricity prices. But our electricity prices have been coming down lately because we've had a very warm winter and we've had a lot of rain. Now, that may sound good in the sense that we will have cheaper electricity and people will have to heat their homes for less. But it can be a long-term negative as well, because we do typically get summer drought seasons. where we have very little rain in our forest, and then we get these dramatic forest fires. And in the past, in the summers, we've had to recruit firefighters from France or from Greece to come and help us put out our fires in the forest. And so we're getting a lot of rain, and we're getting a softer electricity price than we had anticipated. But the negative here is that you still see a very strong environment for an increased rate cycle. So many had been hoping that the Swedish central bank would be lowering rates. And when you have these high of prices on your CPI and your inflation is this high, the SCB or central bank will have to continue raising rates. So we may see 4.5%. It may be coming, but we may be closer to the bottom than we think. But at this point, we're still in a cycle where we need to raise rates. In terms of what's going on in NATO, Turkey has canceled a visit to Sweden. This is over an embassy issue and a protest, and people not playing well together. So we'll see what happens there. But in terms of what's happening, the NATO position, what we've received from Norway, we look to be in good shape. But the negative here is that you have the governments really looking forward to war and a long-term war. Russia is claiming they've taken over Soledar. We're seeing from the West that Soledar is not completely taken over. And the ones you have to feel sorry for are the people caught in the middle. And there's propaganda coming out of Russia that they've raised 80,000 conscripts that they'll be sending over to the front lines. So whether that's propaganda or not, you have on the other side, from our side, where it looks like the Leopard tanks will be sent from Poland, or that the Stryker or the Abrams vehicles will be sent from the United States. We've also seen news that there are more Patriot batteries that are going to be going to the Ukraine, and the training for these Patriots may occur in the United States, maybe in places like the UK. And that generally takes about 3 months to train the troops on those. And because they're Ukrainian, it may take 3 to 5 months. But so there are missile systems that are being sent. Swedish missile systems are being sent. So there is a strong buildup for war, and it looks to be a long-term proposal. And so really the key move here is the positive for the economy today, and positive for the market overall would be the rare earth find. And that could positively affect, obviously, the miners, the construction companies, and the union is held, state held, so there's no way to play that except by playing the peripheral areas. And then Sweden has been focusing on the US politics to some degree, and that's, excuse me, the issue there, as boring as it may sound, is that Biden has had a special prosecutor appointed to him, and that's to investigate what he's been doing with top secret documents, as it's now been found that he had more than one location of secret documents. And so they've assigned a special prosecutor to him from the Department of Justice, and this is by Attorney General Merrick Garland. So you can speculate on whether it's going to be to prevent Biden from running. Doubtful that they would go through to an impeachment, but you could, you never know these days. In any case, it looks to prevent Biden from running. So we'll see what happens, but it's immaterial for the Swedish economy. Only thing could be is that it could be a positive for the market overall. So we may see that the markets move up with this, and that's because it'll be with the Uni Party going in the direction that they want. So remember, you can be long, you can be short, you can always make money in the market. And whether you're strategically allocated or tactically allocated, these are all positions you can take and make money. You can play with options. There's lots to do. And so we'll wish you a lot of success, and hopefully you have a great weekend. And always remember to like and subscribe so that you get all of the information. Thank you very much and have a great weekend. Bye.